Hello time travelers! I intend to, in this video, show you how to fix errors with Automatic1111 and Kohya and other AI tools that you've downloaded from GitHub. People keep asking me in the comments how to fix all these random things. I'm like, I don't even know what you're doing. And I try to help, even though I didn't develop these things. And I can't account for all of the millions of things that could go wrong. But I fixed a bunch of stuff. And when I decided that I was gonna make this video, I started documenting the stuff I fixed and how to fix it. And the problem is that these GUIs don't have good form validation. What am I talking about? This is Forge. It's very similar to Automatic1111. I've been using it recently, and I'm trying to use a script down here, and I'm getting this stupid error. Type error, non-type object is not iterable. More on this later. But this is a GUI, Graphic User Interface, and it doesn't have good form validation. Later in this video, I'm going to show you how this software is supposed to validate the form and tell me what I did wrong, and it's not doing it. This is my look of disapproval. In this first section, I'm going to demonstrate how you might get some errors in Automatic1111 or Forge and how to troubleshoot them. So like earlier, I mentioned this is Forge, not Automatic1111, but it works basically the same, and it has all the same errors that Automatic1111 has because it's based off of the same Stable Diffusion fork, and they just forked off and made their own thing that's faster. If you want to learn more about Forge, you can check out this video that I did recently after watching this video. So this is actually good. I like that it has the error here, so I don't have to go over to the console and see the error. In this case, you see the console has the exact same error. Also, if you ever click on this, it says select at the top. Press enter, otherwise everything in the console will pause and not move again. This error on an earlier version of Stable Diffusion said invalid string something something something. So what is a string? String is a variable type. When you're programming software, you have variables that remember things. And so in this case, I'm trying to do an XY plot to try different LoRa's I trained for Dakota Johnson. There's my best generation I got. I'll show you a better idea of what I was doing. I had all these LoRa files that I trained and I wanted to try each one, all right? I scrolled down. I wanted to try step 100, step 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. In here, I have a LoRa file mentioned. So if I change this to a 1, scroll down, make sure everything's correct. I fixed one error. The first error was, this was looking for step 000000100, and it wasn't in there. The second one is this, prompt search and replace. This will probably not throw an error unless there's not a -1 up there for it to find. Let's try it. Press Control Enter. No, it's not up there. There's no -1 up here for it to find. If you look up here, there's no -1 in the positive prompt or the negative prompt for it to find. But in this case, prompt SR is not what I want because I was trying seed. So I need to change this to the right thing. If you do all this and you can't figure out why you're still getting an error over here, this is how I fix these, like every time, is I turn everything off over here. Change this to none. You might have a detailer, I did a video on that before. You might have dynamic prompts, which is wildcards. Turn that off. This will not throw errors over here. This is usually fine. If you've tried everything else, you can maybe try turning that off. Animate diff, that's a plugin I added. Reactor, that's a plugin I added. I would turn that off. Control net in Automatic1111, it just says control net. Turn off all your control net units. So I've got everything turned off. I pressed Control Enter. Let's see if it generates. All right, now it's proceeding. Now this picture's not as good as earlier because the one I did earlier was step 200 in the training, but you get the idea. Turn all of it off and then try it again. And script stuff, you gotta make sure you have it all set up right or it's not gonna give you a valuable error over here. The next place is gonna be looking for errors in the console window itself, and I'm gonna go over that a little bit more later in the video. I have Kohya running on another computer, so I can show you some potential errors you're gonna run into there. First of all, there's a new version of Kohya, and they changed its GUI so it looks completely different, but under the hood, it's all exactly the same. So that just adds more difficulty. People are making these videos to try to help you, and you go to look at it and like, what, this is completely different than what the guy showed me. So I'm going to show you the old one and the new one. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to be using the LoRa tab in both the old one and the new one because they got the most stuff going on. You have to make sure you have it set up right. First thing is, if you have a custom model in here, custom, and then you use your browse thing to find the model you're training with, this has to be set up right. Version 1.5 models, leave these all unchecked. Version 2.0, check this one. Version 2.1, check both of those. SDXL, uncheck those and just check this one over here. And in the new version of Kohya, what do we got? Pre-trained model, custom. Okay, it doesn't have that. What, browse button? All right, that worked, and they got the same check boxes right there. Now this part's confusing. I'll show you what I mean. In the folders tab of the old version, you got 4 folders you have to set up, which are the training images, where you want to output the trained LoRa files, regularization folder, which means images for regularization, and logging folder. These all have to actually be folders before you proceed. And why it's confusing in the new version is they've moved the image folder up here by itself above the folders section, and they've only got 3 of them down here. So what I do before I start a training is I would like to click in these and hit Control A, Control C, Windows button E to open up Explorer, Alt V to go to the address bar, and hit Control V and enter. Windows cannot find, so I'm not going to be able to train because this folder's been moved or changed since I made this training. So I just simply go in there, copy paste the path of the updated folder. I do the same thing for each one. Okay, that's where I like to output. Regularization. Nope, that's not right. Maybe I moved them. Going in there, finding it, and here it is, I found it. Copy paste that over to regularization. Logging folder. That's correct. Let's see if that's the same over here in the new version. Image folder. Does that work? Can I copy paste out of there, Alt Tab, and verify? That works, okay. And you would do the same for those. The problem is Kohya doesn't have any errors in its GUI to ever show up. They're always showing up in the console down here. But let's say you've done a bunch of trainings and you have one that's just for some bizarre reason not working. What I do is I completely rebuild the LoRa from scratch. I have basic LoRa JSON files in a Google Drive for free Patreon subscribers and more advanced one for paid subscribers. Link in the description, what sits below, obviously. And I'm gonna show you how I do this because I had one the other day. And I'm gonna do it in the new GUI. I'm just gonna deal with it. So let's say I've got this training all set up. If you scroll down, and I hate this, how they've moved the configuration. Why does it say configuration? But anyways, this is where you load and save a config file, and I've loaded one in. Let's say this is the training that keeps crashing on me for some reason. Number 1, what am I trying to train? LoRa. Sometimes I've been in the Dream Booth tab and tried to train a LoRa, and it'll crash because I'm using LoRa config in the wrong tab. Make sure you're in the right tab. If you are, then go open another tab of Kohya, and we're gonna load a default, like a standard LoRa training settings thing. Down here, you gotta expand the configuration, hit this open icon. I have my default trainings on another computer. Training configs, here's my 768 basic settings, good. And basically, what you need to do is look at what am I changing from the basic training settings to now. Oh, I'm trying a different network rank, or I'm trying a different gradient accumulation steps or something. You go through the original one that's not working and look at all the things. Okay, train batch size and epoch are both 3. Go over here, let's change those both to 3. Go back, BF16. Okay, and you just go through all of it and you double check all your settings. And then when you're done, this is awkward. In the new Kohya, there's no save as button right here. In the old one, there's save as. So you can change the name of it. So go over to the browser tab where you have the broken training and copy the whole path to the config file. Then go back to the tab where you rebuilt the training and paste the full path in there, and then click the save icon. This is a whole lot easier in the older version of Kohya because you can just hit the Save As icon on your newly created config and browse to the bad one and overwrite it. This is my look of disapproval. Now I'm going to show you 3 different solutions for monitoring GPU usage, starting from least accurate and going all the way to the most accurate. The first method is with Task Manager, and you can open it by pressing Control, Shift, and Escape. And if you're not good at pressing 3 buttons at the same time, you can open a Start menu down here and just simply type Task Manager, 2 words. And when it's highlighted like that, you can press Enter. And then you click GPU down here, and you can watch it with the graphs or whatever, but all you need is the number. GPU memory. That's not accurate. I don't have 20 gigabytes of memory on this GPU. This one, dedicated GPU memory. I'm using 8.3 out of 12 gigs right now because I've got some stuff running. The second method, which is more accurate, it's also going to give you access to a whole lot of other stuff, is Hardware Info 64. I just Googled download Hardware Info 64, and you go here. You got to be careful because they got shady links here. You don't click these middle ones. You click this one down here that says installer, and then free download, and then local US, or whatever your region is, or any of these. If you see something goofy like this, you close that out. Or a thing that says you have to wait for a download. You see how the actual download actually popped up anyway? I downloaded it earlier, it's right here. So I'm just gonna run that. And it's just a normal installer with no special things you have to do while going through. You just hit OK or next or next or next until it's done. Then when it's done, I have it pinned here, but you can just type it in the start menu, HW Info 64, and run that. When it launches, you want to launch it with the checkbox Sensors Only. And when you first launch it, it's going to look like this with all the different hardware on your system. You got to find your GPU and expand it. Scroll down and look for GPU memory allocated. That means how much memory has been set aside. That's what the word allocated means in this case. Because once that memory is set aside, you can't use it for anything else. Right click that and then hit Add to Tray. Hopefully you have your task manager set up to show all the icons down here in the system tray, and the configuration for that is different from Windows 10 to Windows 11. But in Windows 10, you right-click the taskbar and hit Taskbar Settings. Scroll down the notification area, select which icons appear on the taskbar, and choose this one that says On. In Windows 11, you have to go and turn every single individual one on that you want to see. This is my look of disapproval. Now you have this down here, and you can kind of see the number. If you squint, it says 8714. You hover your mouse over it to see the number for reals, I guess. And here's the third method, which is the most accurate because it uses NVIDIA-SMI.exe, which should be on your system after installing NVIDIA drivers. This is my GitHub repo. I'll have it linked in the descriptables. You want to go to Stable Diffusion Automatic1111 Tools. And I've got a few things in here that I've spent a whole bunch of time developing because I love you guys. And if you feel like that I should shut up and take your money.
Shut up and take my money!
You know, you got my Patreon and buy me a coffee links right there. But in this case, all I'm demonstrating is gpustats.bat and gpustats.sh. Go to Code, download zip. In this case, I've configured my browser to always ask me where to download. You may have to go find it in your downloads folder and move it. If you want everything in this zip, you right-click it and hit extract here. This is in the case of having WinRAR installed already to help you with that. Or if you only want the GPU stat stuff, open up that zip, go into the folder, find those 2 files and drag them out. You can't just run this because it won't be able to find the gpustats.sh. You have to right-click this and hit Edit in Windows 10. And Windows 11, it's something down here that says like Edit Notepad or something like that. And now that I have it open in Notepad, what I want to do is go back to the folder where I have this extracted. Go in the address bar, click some on the end of the path, type a backslash, and then gpustats.sh is the one I want. So I'm going to go down to it and then hit Control A. And that's how I'm going to copy the whole path. Another option is to hold Shift on your keyboard, right-click this, and hit Copy as Path. Now go back to this Notepad file, and we want to be inside of the double quote, single quote, and paste in that full path. Or take those quotes off the end, because using Shift and right-click puts quotes on it. We don't want that. We want it to look like double quote, single quote, full path, just like that, then single quote and double quote. Hit Control S to save it, and then you can close it out. Now when you run it, it's going to tell you how much total VRAM your GPU has and how much of it is in use right now. Now I'm going to show you how to fix out-of-memory errors in Kohya when you try to do a training. First things first, what GPU do you have and how much VRAM does it have? I got a lot of people that are asking me how to fix out-of-memory errors in the comments of my videos. They don't even know what GPU they have, even though I mentioned that being an important thing in my videos about how to train lures and stuff. I did a whole video about the RTX 3060 12 gig as an example of a good GPU that has the right amount of VRAM for most AI workloads. You can watch that later if you'd like, because it teaches a lot about how the VRAM works and why it's important. But for right now, I'm going to show you just a couple quick things. On this computer, if I open up the start menu, this is Windows 10, just deal with it. I don't want to deal with Windows 11. Windows 11 has a search box up here at the top, you just type. Windows 10 doesn't, you just start typing. Don't ask me where to type, because it's Windows 10, it's not my fault. I didn't design Windows 10 with no visible search box. You just start typing. And you want to type Device Manager with a space. When it's highlighted like that, you just press enter to open it. Go down to display adapters. I have an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3090 on this computer. So let's go Google that with the word Tech Power Up at the beginning. Tech Power Up RTX 3090. And click that. Okay, this one has 24 gigs. So let's go look at a different computer. Device Manager. Display adapters. I've got two of them, and I've got my AI workloads using the NVIDIA RTX 3080. So how much does that have? Tech Power Up RTX 3080. Load that up. That's 10 gigs. Okay, and I've got another machine with a 3080 Ti. What's that got in there? That's got 12 gigs. All right, why is that important? Because you need to keep an eye on how much of the VRAM is being used during your AI workload. But for Kohya, there are some settings you can use to make it use less VRAM. So 3 is a safe number for batch size, and it's also a good balance with the other things in the settings for an 8 gigabyte VRAM card, because it'll use about 7.5 gigs of VRAM. However, you won't be able to do anything else on the computer. You want to have everything else closed before you start training. The next two things you want to look for are cache latents and cache latents to disk. Cache latents, what does that do? Latents are some of the things that it has to figure out during training, and caching means it's going to do it once and hold on to it instead of doing it over and over and over again. This makes the training take longer but use less VRAM. Same over here. Instead of caching the latents into the VRAM, because your GPU only has so much, it saves it to your hard drive or your SSD, whatever you got going on. Now expand your advanced section, or if you're in the older version of Kohya, it's parameters and then advanced. And look for this one. I don't need it because I've got higher VRAM GPU, but you can use memory efficient attention. The other one is right over here. This is the last one. You want to set your cross attention to X formers. Not none, not SDPA. That's going to use less VRAM. Now in this section of the video, I'm going to be showing you some stuff that I've fixed over the past few weeks and that I've documented to give you an idea of how to fix stuff on your own as it crops up. All right, I've got 11 examples. Let's get through these real fast. Kohya won't do captioning. Library error. This is the error I got. First, I'll show you what I was trying to do. I was in Utilities, WD-14 captioning. This is where you make caption files for training images. Honestly, if you're sitting there like, what? Caption files? What are those? Then you really need to see this video where I show you guys how to train a LoRa. There are a couple things that I did wrong in that video. Well, not really wrong. People were helping me in the comments. Like the one time I left out a colon when I was doing an image generation. And the other thing was how to name your instance prompt / trigger word. But basically watch that video and there's a short follow-up video. The caption files are files that describe your picture. Like look at this one. there's my trigger word slash, instance prompt, and woman, solo, long hair, body shape, looking at the viewer, etc, etc, etc. And when I was trying to run it, which you just hit this button to run the thing, it's an AI that captions your files, I was getting this error. Module not found error. No module found bits and bytes.CUDA setup.paths. I didn't fix that, but I fixed this one. Module not found library. I fixed that error before I started documenting these problems for this video, but later I got a library not found error. So in this case, this is how I Googled it. And just literally, you have to Google this stuff. If you don't know how, you need to learn how to Google these errors. So in this case, I'm at Google, I type Kohya WD14 and paste in the error, because you can copy paste it straight off of the console. And blip is another captioning type, so it was also using the same library that was missing. And here's the page where I found the solution. And this is the solution I found right here. He says, okay, using blah, blah, blah afterwards, doesn't work as expected, would not find the library due to missing something, 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 read something about this here, blah, 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 and you need pip install upgrade requirements. What? What are you talking about? So when you see that, this is how you fix it. In this case, I'm not actually gonna do it because I don't wanna break anything, because mine's running fine right now, but I'm gonna show you where you do it. First, you terminate this or hit Control-C so it's not running anymore. I'll go ahead and do that. It says VENV, blah, blah, blah. I don't want this to be running. So I'm gonna type deactivate, press enter, and I would just paste the command. But you have to be in the folder to fix it. Here's one from trying to train a hyper network in Automatic1111, and I'll show you where that is. I'm actually in Forge, but it's the same thing. It's in train. Create hyper network. After you create the hyper network in here, you're in the train tab and you set up a bunch of stuff. You scroll down and you hit train hyper network over here. Here's the error. Runtime error. A leaf variable that requires grad is being used in an in-place operation. Like, what the frick is that supposed to mean? So this is how I Googled it. Spoilers, I didn't find a solution, but I put Automatic1111 train hyper network. And I got a bunch of stuff that didn't help me. How did I fix it? This is interesting. I just went to the console and hit Control-C a couple times. It says, do you want to stop operation or whatever it says? And I hit yes. Loaded it up again. And since the GUI was already loaded with all the stuff I had already, I just hit train hyper network and it worked. So that fixed it. The next error that I fixed is kind of a sneak peek to a video that I'm going to do in the future about body shapes. How when you train a LoRa and then you generate images, a woman's bajungas are too big or too small or whatever. Sometimes I use different LoRas to fix them. And the error said value error, invalid literal for int. Okay, I was talking about variables earlier. It says with base 10. What? Int. Integer, that's what that means. It's a variable type, and an integer has to be a number. And base 10 is, why are they saying base 10? We always use base 10 with integers. But anyways, the problem was obvious, that I had steps set over here. What steps? If I'm in Automatic1111 or Forge, and I'm generating an image, and I want to try different sampling steps, that's why I might scroll down here to script and change this to steps. But this has to be integers. And integers are positive and they're not just text and words. So you can put 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. Or if you're using like SDXL Turbo, you might do 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or something. But in this example, I had words there. And since I wanted to test this, I had to change this to prompt SR, which is you go in here and you type prompt. And now I'm on prompt search replace, and it treats this as needing strings to be in there. This is an error I got while trying to install Forge. Again, if you didn't see the Forge video, you need to check that out. While installing it, it said module not found error. Import of Xformers halted. None in sys.modules. This is what I Googled. Stable Diffusion Forge. And then I pasted in the error. I found the solution here. Let's go look at it. Just added command line args Xformers. Now, in my opinion, this makes me do the look of disapproval. Because when you have an AI and you go to set it up, there's requirements that are in a file called requirements.txt, and it installs things automatically. But with Stable Diffusion, sometimes it's when you have certain models that you've downloaded. Now you have to tell it, oh, it needs X-formers. Oh, I need X-formers? Let me go download those. Just added the command line arg. So where did I add those? So I'm in my Stable Diffusion Forge org folder. I've typed notepad webui-user.bat. And this is right where I put it, and it fixed it. Here's a funny one where I accidentally put checkpoints in the wrong folder. Here's what the error said. Embedding file has multiple terms in it over and over again. Now, sometimes it will say this, and you ignore it as long as everything else is working. If nothing's working and you can't generate images, or you can't find stuff inside of here in the LoRa tab or textual inversion tab or whatever, and it keeps saying this in the console. I'm trying to train a face for MatPat as a tribute to him retiring. And these are checkpoints that I was training because I was trying to learn how to use Dream Booth. But look, they're in the embeddings folder. Not gonna work. Checkpoints don't go in the embeddings folder. They go in the Stable Diffusion folder. Stable-diffusion-webui, and then if you have Forge, it says -Forge. Models, Stable Diffusion. Moved them. Problem was fixed. All right, let's check out this file not found error. What's it? Always ignore the matching Triton error and no module found Triton because we're not running Linux. Oh, I highlighted it. See, I highlighted it up here because down here it looks like it's going to train, but it'll eventually crash. You get all this stuff up here. What's frustrating is that you'll have all these file with this script had an error, file with this script had an error, file with this script had an error. Sometimes the error is at the end, sometimes it's towards the beginning of all those lines. In this case, it said file not found error. System cannot find the file with path specified. And it's showing me the whole path to the image training folder. So what happened? I remembered that I renamed the folder. So I fixed it and ran it in the box again. Again, I went over this earlier, but in Kohya, before you start training, you double check all these 4 folders are correct. This is the old GUI, and this is the new one. LoRa tab, scroll down a little bit. 1 folder is there. And the other 3 are right there. I'll delete VENV folder. This is a really weird thing that works sometimes. I have fixed various issues on different AI repos by deleting the VNV folder and then running the setup again. But in this case, it was with Kohya. Doing this may help you fix it if you're having problems with bits and bytes or torch or something misbehaving. This is where the captioning in Kohya, I fixed it before and it started acting funny again. Where this is what, when it's done, captioning should say. Captioning done. Except that I go back and all the caption files only had a couple words in them. I forgot to get a screenshot from before when I noticed the problem. So the screenshot I just showed you is what it was like after I fixed it. It would say done, but it didn't actually do anything. So I've actually used this solution on other AI tools more often than I've done on Automatic1111 and Forge and Kohya. And I'll show you how to do it. So I'm on another computer where I have Kohya installed. And this is the Kohya folder. If you see, I've got Stable Diffusion and Kohya, Kohya_SS. This is the one that I've cloned from the GitHub. I want to go down to VENV. Obviously, you're going to make sure you don't have any AI stuff running before you do this. And you delete this folder. In my case, I'm not going to delete it because I know it works good. I'm going to hit underscore and then back up to rename it. Now I need to get command line open to that folder. I'm going to press Windows button R, type CMD, press enter, type CD/D space double quote, copy paste this path over. Some people have you type CMD up here. I don't like doing that, and I'm not going to get into the reasons why I don't like it in this video right now. So whatever your setup process is, you want to do it now as if you just installed it. So in this case, dir star.bat, because I can't remember what the batch file is. That means just show me all the batch files that are in this folder by doing a directory listing wildcard.bat. Okay, setup.bat. And I would go through that whole setup again. You see right here where it says creating VENV? Because sometimes you get an error and it's with one of the things that you installed, like Torch or Xformers even broke for me once. Or something else. And this is just gonna install everything fresh. And follow whatever process from whatever previous video you've seen how to install a certain thing. Sometimes there's like a requirements.txt, like this one, and you might have installation instructions for doing that. In this case, Kohya has it set up in their little batch file menu, which is this one. It handles that for you. But again, just follow whatever steps you have for the particular thing you're trying to fix. So Kohya messed up on me again with bits and bytes, and it was making me pull my hair out. See, look at the error. Import error, no bits and bytes / bits and bytes. Here's the actual problem. Full BF16 training, experimental. This is because someone said, hey, check out this cool Kohya training in my Discord, because my patron members can have access to a special Discord channel where we share settings and tips with each other. And I was trying his training. I was spending hours trying to get this training to work. Finally, I found it right here. I tried the same training on a different computer, this one with the RTX 3090, and it worked because I was going to try his training on 2 different faces and have 2 computers training at the same time, but one of them kept failing. And I'm like, no, don't do this experimental thing over there. If you're still having bits and bytes errors with Kohya, then it's a problem with Kohya itself. You have 2 options, which is to install an old version with special steps, or install a new version which has problems in the GUI. But I'm doing a whole video about that, and I'm going to be filming it after I'm done filming this. So make sure you're subscribed and change the notifications in YouTube so you find out when that video comes out. Ooh, cool, Sad Talker installation error. What's Sad Talker first? It's so that you can take an image, like a real person or an AI-generated picture of a person, and animate the mouth. I actually use AI to make skit videos sometimes. I'm going to show you a little bit in the scary hour here. It's my most recent skit video. As you can see, these are all the AI tools I used, and Sad Talker was one of them.
To see if there is anything else we should do. Okay.
You see that?
Okay.
This is me waiting on hold, but that's a girl that I was talking to try to help me fix something over the phone.
But there shouldn't be an issue because you didn't request any cards be sent out.
I did. I have those. Those came before, and then these came later.
I'm going to put you on hold just one more time while we check that other account to...
Anyways, I'd highly appreciate if you watch that video later. You'll get a kick out of it. But on to the error I got and how I fixed it. Launch unsuccessful, exiting! Attribute error. Row object has no attribute style. Anything else over here? Okay, VENV, it's running this script, blah, 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 blah. No, it's this. So how did I Google it? Sad Talker attribute error. I just wrote Sad Talker and copy pasted the error into Google. All this blah blah blah, they're talking about changing a freaking Python file and finding stuff in it. And I'm not above that. But I tried it and it didn't work. Because I know a little bit about coding, so I'm like, okay, what do you want me to find? What do you want me to change? I know, okay, when you change something, it has to follow the same syntax or whatever. But it didn't work, so this gent down here, Easy on the Ice, that's interesting wordplay, had the updated script inside of a zip file, and it fixed it for me. So this one says in my notes, Kohya textual inversion training can't connect to Hugging Face. So what's textual inversion training? So you're in Kohya, instead of doing LoRa, you're on textual inversion, trying to train something over here. And this one, it had the error in the middle of all the junk. Check out your internet connection or see how to run the library in offline mode at Hugging Face. What? We couldn't connect to huggingface.co to load this model. Sometimes in Kohya or Automatic11 or Forge, you go to use something for the first time and you'll see like a download progress bar happening inside the console. So it was failing. I'm like, huh? Make sure I'm connected to the internet. Make sure you know how to download things. And if Hugging Face requires like me to be logged in or something, you need to have a more appropriate error message. Anyways, what I Googled was here, and then I found this better error in that same screen by copy pasting the whole screen into Notepad and just searching through it. And it was saying it's looking for a VEI model. That's okay, VEI. I did a video about VEIs, so I know what a VEI is. And it's talking about the path. And I'm like, that's probably because I started messing around with this training on one computer and went to another computer and its folders are different. So what I did was I went through all the tabs of the textual inversion training up here, because that's what I was trying to do. And I searched through basic first, and then I searched through advanced. And I just pressed Control F on the keyboard to bring up the search thing. And I typed in VAE and pressed enter. And then I saw this, optional path to checkpoint of VAA to replace for training. Now back to past me, because I was messing around with the new GUI, and it's even harder to find in there. So you see this spot right here, optional path to checkpoint of VAA to replace inside of the training. Put in the correct path, and the training worked after that. All right, number 11, out of disk space.
If you can see, the numbers all go to 11.
This is an error you're going to get if you don't have a nice sizable hard drive. And if you're looking for a good hard drive, I mentioned one in the video I did about the RTX 3060 12 gig, and I was talking about all the VRAM and stuff your GPU needs. So that info is already there for you, but not enough space on disk is the error here. And I checked my D drive on that machine because it's a 1 terabyte drive and it's full. I'm like, I need to buy another hard drive for that machine. But how did I fix it? Well, I deleted some stuff, and I'll show you what I deleted. I keep all my AI stuff in the same folder. I don't keep it at the root of a drive, because then it'll be all confusing. So it's in a folder AI stuff, and all my stable diffusion stuff is in here. And in this case, if I was running out of space, I would look for deleting, okay, let's delete that one. Stable swarm, I don't use that. SD next, and this other Kohya. Those are 3 I'm not using right now. If I deleted them, and all I did was press Alt-Enter to show the properties of those 3 together. And look, it's just counting up all these gigs and gigs and gigs of space that of stuff I'm not even using. You can also go into like Stable Diffusion and go into your output folder and just wipe all these out. Just Shift Delete. Make sure you have all the images out of there you want to keep, because like your text to image images, they're all in there. See? If I wanted to keep any of these, I should definitely think about getting them out of there. But since I don't want to keep any of these, what's all this? I'm using over 6 gigs of space from February 20 to March 26th. Shift, delete, and yes. Yes, Windows. And they're gone. Now you might want to report an issue to the developer on the GitHub repo. When these AI tools spit out their nonsensical errors in the console right here, they are errors intended for the developer to see, not just the average normie trying to learn AI stuff so they can get, a better and brighter future in an IT position or something. But most of the time you're having an error, other people are experiencing the same error, and they've already asked online, and someone who is clever that does know how to fix stuff figured it out. But in the case where you can't find a solution, sometimes you have to have the developer fix it. So for example, I'm on the Forge GitHub repo. You want to go over to issues and then copy paste whatever the error was in there and see if it's already in there. And if it's not, then you're going to go over here on the right and hit new issue. And then you get this page where it says bug report, and you click get started. You got to make sure you fill out all of this stuff, and I'll give you an idea of what you need to put in there. Like when you were Googling it, you're like Forge, generate, image, and then you paste in whatever the error is. You don't need the name of the fork or whatever, but generate image and then paste in the error. You see this issue exists after disabling all extensions, so that's something you might try. So in Forge, you would go over to extensions, way over here, uncheck all the ones you installed yourself, which all these built-in ones are not the ones you're worried about. It's all of these. You would uncheck them, apply and restart UI, go over here, hit Control-C to break this, type Y for yes, and then hit enter, and then load it up again. This issue exists on a clean installation of Web UI. I've got a whole section in this video coming up to show you how to do that so that you don't lose your models and stuff. But every repo, this part's going to be a little bit different, so read through these. And what happened, like this example is text to IMG. If you don't know what that is, the basic tab in Forge Automatic1111 for generating images is text to IMG. That helps the developer know what you were doing. But type out what happened, But down here, you do more details like 1, I was on a certain tab. 2, I did such and such. 3, I did such and such. 4, I clicked generate, and this is what happened. What should have happened, like in this case, I would just put generate an image. Console logs is a really good one to help the developer. So let's say I had an error in here. I would look to wherever the error is, like here's an error. Reactor wasn't working. Let's say this was the error I wanted to report. I would take all of this error stuff all the way up, and I'm just clicked it and dragged my mouse, and then hit Control C and hit Control V in there. And once you think you've filled out enough information in this whole thing, go down here and hit Submit New Issue. I got one more tip to show you, but before that, a little quick self-promo section for the video, which is I have a Patreon now, so you can support the channel. And what do you get for it? You look down here, you get weekly DLC! And that's in the form of whatever I train, prompt images that I output, and so you could drop the image into Automatic1111 or Forge and see how the prompt works and everything. And also documents and config files. Now for the last section, which is how to install a repo all over again. And I'm actually going to demonstrate by wiping out one of mine and reinstalling it. So let's say this installation of Automatic1111 right here is the one giving me problems. This is future me. I realized while I was editing this video, I left an important step out, so I'm going to show you right now. You want to do this while your repo of Automatic1111 or Forge is running. First, you go over to your extensions tab, and you scroll down past all these built-in ones. This is Forge, so it has a lot of built-in ones. But how you can tell they're ones that you installed is that there's a URL next to it. Open the Start menu and type snip, and open up the snipping tool. Click on snipping tool so it's the active program. I like to click it and move it so I know I clicked it. And hit Control N on your keyboard. And then you want to get all of these. And once you have it in there, you can save it somewhere. Then you want to do the same thing for your settings. If you can remember what settings you like or whatever. For example, I like my generated images to have a specific format. So it's got the seed in there, the model name, which is the checkpoint. So I know which checkpoint I use to generate that image. And then generation number and select add number to suffix. So I never overwrite any existing files. So I would go like this and I would save that setting somewhere. I've also got other settings down here. So if you can remember any plugins that you like to use where you've changed the settings, you make screen caps of those. And then I highly recommend that you make a document and write out all the different settings. This is my Google Drive folder that I share with Patreon subscribers. If I go into tier 3 and then tier 1, there's undocumented solutions. It's a little joke I have about people not documenting their stuff. But basically, if you're a tier 2 or tier 3 subscriber on my Patreon, you have access to all the plugins and settings I like to use in case you want to try them. But this is what I recommend your document looks like. You keep your install from URL stuff separate from the ones that you install using the available tab. The first thing I'm going to do is press F2 and go to the end and put backup. Okay? I'm going to open command line to this folder. I just have this button over here. It's like my little shortcut. What's it? I'm going to type git clone. I'm going to clone the repo. And if I want to name this a different folder, then I type it here. For example, stable diffusion web UI some unique name. But I'm not going to do that this time because I'm going to let it name it the default name. Now check this out. First thing I'm going to do is go into the folder by typing cd stable, press tab until I have the correct one, that one. Now I'm going to type copy and then drag my backup folder over so it shows the whole backup thing. Press back so that my cursor's before the double quote at the end, a backslash and star.bat. So get all those batch files that I set up. And then if there's any overwrite prompts, webui-user.bat, yeah, that's the one I made. webui.bat, no, that's one we do not mess with. That's the built-in one. Okay, we're done. And it copied webui vanilla.bat, which I talked about in previous videos, because there wasn't a conflict of having one with the same name already. Now I'm going to type explorer space %cd %. What's that going to do? it's going to open up File Explorer to this folder. And on my keyboard, I'm going to press Windows button R to send it to the right side. And go to this other one, Windows button left to send it to the left side. Open up the backup. Go down to my models folder. And I'm going to hit Control X to cut that. And then over here, Control V to paste. I'm not actually going to do it because I'm going to undo changes to what I'm doing right now. In my case, because I don't want to have to reinstall everything. But you would hit yes for all prompts that come up here. And all that's going to do is move all your models over. When that's done, you run your setup like normal. Now, after you're done installing Automatic1111 or Forge or whatever, and it's all set up and you've got the GUI loaded, we need to install all your plugins. First, do your install from URL tab stuff. So in this case, I would copy that URL. Go over to the extensions tab. Mine is right below here because I've got so many things. But yours should be over on the top right over here. And you want install from URL, and you paste this in and hit install. I'm not going to do it because I already have it installed. Whether if you got screenshots or a document you made, I highly recommend you create a document. Let's do this one, for example, the clip interrogator. I'm going to hit Control C to copy that and go over to the available tab, hit load from, so it loads all the extensions that are available, and go in this box and paste interrogator in. Now this is something different because I already have it installed. Now, I'm going to type gibberish in here so you can see what to do if it doesn't show up. So say, for example, or whatever is an actual plugin that I know I've used before and it didn't show up. That means that this plugin has to be installed using the install from URL tab. So let's say it's deforum, stable diffusion, deforum, GitHub. That's what I would Google. Go find the repo, deforum extension for Automatic 11. Okay, that's, for example, if I just installed Automatic 11, I would go in there, load up that repo, then I would use code, and then this little copy button right here, and then go back to my install from URL tab, and paste that in, and hit install. Once you're done installing all the different extensions, you want to go to installed, and hit apply and restart UI. And then it's going to download more stuff from in this console. And you want to go ahead and walk away, live your life, hang out with your family, or finally take that piss that you've been waiting to do.
I gotta piss like a racehorse.
I don't care. I'm not your mother. But when you come back, when it's ready to load it and it says running on local URL, you actually want to break it by pressing Control C, like this. When it says terminate batch job, you hit Y and then enter. And then load it again. Web UI to user.bat. And then it might have more stuff it needs to download or set up. And since this is future me, I don't have my stable diffusion web UI-backup folder here anymore, so I'm just going to open this one for the demonstration. This is my new installation of Automatic 1111 over here on the right. And let's pretend this is my old one on the left. If you have not paste your models folder over yet, do that now. All right, this is future me. And I forgot to move a particular folder over and I had a hard time. Luckily, I had my embeddings on another computer so that I technically had a backup. But I talked earlier about moving over the models folder from your old one to your new one, like this. But embeddings are right here. If I designed Automatic 1111, embeddings would be called textual inversion and it would be inside the models folder. But I digress. So make sure before you wipe out your old installation, you cut paste your embeddings folder from here to here. But there's other stuff that you can't move over until after the extensions are installed. So let's go over to extensions on both sides. You've got ControlNet over here, and then models, which is SD Web UI ControlNet, and then models. And you see I already moved mine over. You've also got this plugin, SD Dynamic Prompts. This is so that you can use wildcards in your prompts. You just need to move your wildcards over. So make sure you're in the same folder on this other side as well. Go to wildcards, and move all those over. If you don't know what I'm talking about, let's say you have an image you want to generate and you can't decide what the background should be, or you want the background to be different in every image. You just put a bunch of different text in there separated by putting them on different lines. Ask me in the comments if you're interested in me showing you a video about how to use this plugin further. But why I was showing you this is that if there's any plugins where you had to configure them or set them up in some way by doing something with their folder inside of here, then you need to move that over right now. Then you can load up Automatic1111 or Forge or whatever and make sure all your plugins / extensions are working over there. And the final step is to go to your old backup folder, and you have to hit Shift Delete on it. And it's going to say, are you sure you want to permanently delete this folder? Yes. I already deleted mine earlier, but yours might take a few minutes to calculate all the gigs and gigs of data that's in there. I mean, just the installation by itself is a ton of space. And then it'll eventually delete it all. So the same trick goes for Kohya. If you're just going to install the new version, there's only one folder you really have to move, and I'll show you which one it is. It's the CUDNN Windows. It's an optional install. So when you're doing setup and it says optional install CUDNN files, you just got to remember to move this into your new Kohya folder. All right, what should I do for the end screen? I guess it's going to be one of those awkward end screens where I have to come up with what to say on the fly. I got it. Tips and tricks. I did 2 tips and tricks videos for how to use Automatic1111, and all those tricks will apply to Forge too if you're also running Forge. So those are over there. So check those out and subscribe to the channel right over here, and you can check out my Patreon over there, and I'll be seeing you guys in the comments.